Good morning, Nigeria, and I make you welcome. This is Enterprise Weekend, reaching you from Enterprise Television from the economic hub and heart of Nigeria. My name is Henry Ikwebike, and this is Enterprise Television. We'll kick off today with our newspapers, and right after that will be our main conversation also. Please do well to be part of what we do. Have a say in what we say. You can always find us, reach us when you visit us at EnterpriseTVNews.com. You may equally like, comment, and follow us on all our social media platforms at EnterpriseTV7. We're very so honored to have with us, joining us via Zoom from Lagos State, Nigeria, Barrister Fred Mzeakor, a barrister at law, public affairs analyst, and a development communicator. Good morning to you, Barrister, and welcome to Enterprise Weekend today.
Thank you, Henry. Good morning to our dear esteemed viewers.
All right, thank you so very much, everyone, especially for Nigerians in the diaspora that are watching right now. We welcome you, and we hope that you would enjoy this show today. But let's start with the first daily on our desk. It's coming from the Saturday Punch newspaper. Big story: fresh Ebola outbreak. Federal government tightens border control. And we have two riders to that particular story. Government reactivates portal, employs more surveillance staff, and WHO releases $500,000 as pandemic kills 16 in DR Congo. And on the bottom strip, we have Omoada, how Igbo lands powerful sisterhood terrify women and silence men. And also we have on the top strip of the same newspaper, which I think would be our talking point for today, from sit-at-home mastermind to prisoner, rise and fall of Simon Ekpa. Barrister, I love us to talk on this particular matter. It's very sensitive, especially those from the southeast of Nigeria. It's one topic lots of people don't want to talk about. It's either because they are scared of talking about it, or they don't want to go through the harrowing kick and pull, push and feel effect from people on social media. But I'd love us to talk about it. What's your take on Simon Ekpa, who started out as someone who people listened to and becoming what he is today?
Well, my take is the take of most Nigerians who express discomfort with the growing tendencies of insecurity in the southeast. And many Nigerians feel that the activities of Mr. Simon Ekpa and his cohorts have exacerbated the insecurity situation in the southeast. And when Mr. Simon Ekpa was arrested by the Finnish government and went on trial, people statistically noted that the state of insecurity seemed to have lessened a little bit. And now that he has been fully tried and sentenced, that the state of insecurity in the southeast would naturally continue to dwindle. But we also understand that in the group of Mr. Simon Ekpa, that they have immediately raised a successor that will be holding the fort for him while he served his terms in Finnish prison. What is critical and most important is that, one, the Finnish government has done what Nigerian government could not do by expeditious trial of anybody who is accused of any crime. Two, ensure that there is need for government to be bold when it comes to the issue of trying people accused of terrorism, both at national or at international level. And three, to ensure that no stone is left unturned towards enhancing the security situation for the people. And if that will include arresting and trying people who are complicit in an insecurity situation in the country, so be it. And it now begs the question that 400 names of terrorist sponsors were sent to federal government under President Bola by another country, United Arab Emirates. And up to today, even their names are not even having whispered in low tones, not to talk of bringing them to the public domain, not to talk of even trying to arrest or try them. So it is a very sour realization, and gives impression that the Nigerian government is not serious about issues of insecurity, and not serious about providing security for the people, and not serious about attacking bandits and terrorists. If the least they could do, they have not been able to do. Yes, recently about 9 people were arraigned on terror charges in Abuja. Nigerians are saying that it is good, but it is not enough. We want more intensive actions, both operationally and legally, and both in the field of war, in the theater of war, and in the courtroom, to ensure that those who are associated with terrorism and terror sponsor should have the long arm of the law catch up with them. Because if we don't do that, there's no way we can ensure the security and of life and property of the people.
It's a very, very true, barrister. And I think it's very important that we look at this particular matter. But if you may, barrister, I would love us to maybe drive this to the southeast of Nigeria. You are an Igbo man, just like I am. And I'd love to ask you this. The sudden empathy of the Igbo people for cause like that of Simon Ekpa, it's not usual. This used not to be who the Igbo people are. The Igbos are Republicans in nature, which means if someone tells you that this is black, you mustn't just agree with him. You have to question why that is black. That is who the Igbo man is. But this sudden empathy for a cause that is directionless, where do you think that is coming from? And how can we possibly end that to going back to who we are as Igbo people who are Republicans in nature?
If you use the expression sudden empathy, I think it is it does not express the true reality on ground. Because when you say sudden empathy, it gives impression as if a majority of the Igbos are empathetic to the plight, in quote, so-called plight of Mr. Simon Ekpa. But I don't think that is the true picture. The true picture is that the Igbos generally, and when we say the Igbos, we're talking about the majority, because in every situation, there will be majority and there will be minority. But when you want to refer to a people, you likely will refer to the majority of the people. So, majority of the Igbos are not empathetic to the actions of Mr. Ekpa and his cohorts, because their actions are not in the best interest of the Igbos. They are obviously not. The Igbos, yes, the Igbos want to be recognized and want justice. They want equity. They want to be given fairness in the Nigerian environment, in the Nigerian state and the Nigerian polity. But the Igbos generally do not want violence of any nature, violence of any manner. Don't forget that the Igbos waged a 3.5-year-old war brought to his doorstep by the then federal government. The first shot was released by the troops of the federal government and not by the troops of the Biafra as it then was. So it's historical that federal government took the war to the Igbo heartland. And of course, there is an adage that says, no matter how meek a lamb is, when you take a war to its doorstep, it will at least try to push back, even if it means jumping up to avoid such a war. So the Igbos jumped up to avoid the war, and when the war could not be avoided, they had to stand their ground to fight for 3.5 years with massive loss of lives and properties, and even socio-political position of the Igbos in the Nigerian state. So an average Igbo person who experienced that war or who has read about the incidences of the war will not in any way want such war to come back to Igbo land. So what we are asking for as a people is equity, fairness, and justice. Take away this orchestrated, intentional marginalization of the Igbos by successive governments of Nigeria. And we will then integrate, and because that will bring the full-fledged integration that we are asking for. And yes, incidences that led to that war, that we are not ready to war again, because we have experienced it, and we don't want it again. But we want a Nigeria that works, and that is the yearning of most Igbos. The people at the other end, who are the minority of the Igbos, who possibly may be sympathetic to Simon Ekpa's cause, they are not only said to be an absolute minority, but their actions do not reflect the yearnings and aspirations of the general Igbo race.
Thank you so very much. Now let's move on to other matters, and this is coming from the Guardian newspaper for today. South, an oil-rich region with dung hills of abandoned projects, and I have about 6 South governors from Diri to Siminalayi Fubara who made the front page right here. And Barris, I'd love us to take our discourse to the South region. When you compare the amount of money, 13% derivative, from oil, this is of course made available to the South governors. Would you say that in comparison to the economic infrastructural development in the state, that these governors should be given opportunity to serve onwards?
When you say you give an opportunity to serve, it depends on the people to decide. Election will come in 2027 if the people of the federal states feel that their federal governors have done well, those who are deserving of re-election, then it is left to them to decide. But as far as I'm concerned, with respect to the issues canvassed on the front page of the Guardian newspaper, that the region is filled with a lot of, it describes it as a dung hill of uncompleted projects. Yes, it is. And it is very unfortunate that the golden goose that laid the golden hen is not allowed to make use of the egg that is as laid. The golden goose that laid the golden egg is being shortchanged, both internally and externally. Internally, because the governors of the region are not doing their utmost. They cannot deny that. It's a straightforward issue. Externally, because even the little that is coming to them, little input that is coming to them, you still have to see the undue influence of external factors. And let's all look at the
All right, I think we have a little bit of a glitch from Barrister's end. We believe he will join us in very soon. And we're, of course, talking about the South region, the oil-rich South region of Nigeria, and why it is not up to par to what other regions across the world with lots of deposits of oil are able to accomplish. There's so much to talk about that, because from Bayelsa to Port Harcourt, that is Rivers State, you hardly would see what shows that those states are really oil main stations in Nigeria. That is places where you see lots of oil deposits in that part of the country. With respect to the development you see there, infrastructural growth you see there, human development index you see there, and lots of other indices that show that they are really up to par when it comes to their value delivery in the state. There's so much to talk about, and I hope a barrister would join us in no time when he gets his own end of the connection ready. This is still Enterprise Weekend. We'll go for a quick break and we'll be right back. Please don't go anywhere.
My people, the elections are around the corner. Before you know it, it will be 2027. But before then, for you to partake in the election, you must have your voter's card. And for you to have your voter's card, you must register. INEC has rolled out the drums. We call this program Continuous Voters Registration. And it is for you to register. This is to do that if you want to vote. And it's important that you take part in the process of voting. Just go there, give them your name and your address. That's all. And of course, they will capture you, take your picture, and that's all. You are done. Within 5 minutes, you are done. And after that, when the time comes, they call it claims and objection time. That's when you look at it. They will paste all the results or the names of those that have registered all over the places. You will go to the place you register, check your name that is well spelled, and the information you've given them correct. And that's all. After some time again, they will tell you that your voter's card is ready. You go and pick it. That is all. Be a good Nigerian citizen. Partake in the process, because it's a duty imposed on you by Section 23 of the 1999 Constitution as a good citizen. And you will be better off by voting, because you have your mind that yes, you voted right. I'm Wale Ogunade, constitutional lawyer, human rights activist, and President Voters Awareness Initiative. Thank you. My people, the elections are around the corner. Before you know it, it will be 2027. But before then, for you to partake in the election, you must have your voter's card. And for you to have your voter's card, you must register. INEC has rolled out the drums. We call this program Continuous Voters Registration. And it is for you to register. This is to do that if you want to vote. And it's important that you take part in the process of voting. Just go there, give them your name and your address. That's all. And of course, they will capture you, take your picture, and that's all. You are done. Within 5 minutes, you are done. And after that, when the time comes, they call it claims and objection time. That's when you look at it. They will paste all the results or the names of those that have registered all over the places. You will go to the place you register, check your name that is well spelled, and the information you've given them correct. And that's all. After some time again, they will tell you that your voter's card is ready. You go and pick it. That is all. Be a good Nigerian citizen. Partake in the process, because it's a duty imposed on you by Section 23 of the 1999 Constitution as a good citizen. And you will be better off by voting, because you have your mind that yes, you voted right. I'm Wale Ogunade, constitutional lawyer, human rights activist, and President Voters Awareness Initiative. Thank you. My people, the elections are around the corner. Before you know it, it will be 2027. But before then, for you to partake in the election, you must have your voter's card. And for you to have your voter's card, you must register. INEC has rolled out the drums. We call this program Continuous Voters Registration. And it is for you to register. This is to do that if you want to vote. And it's important that you take part in the process of voting. Just go there, give them your name and your address. That's all. And of course, they will capture you, take your picture, and that's all. You are done. Within 5 minutes, you are done. And after that, when the time comes, they call it claims and objection time. That's when you look at it. They will paste all the results or the names of those that have registered all over the places. You will go to the place you register, check your name that is well spelled, and the information you've given them correct. And that's all. After some time again, they will tell you that your voter's card is ready. You go and pick it. That is all. Be a good Nigerian citizen. Partake in the process, because it's a duty imposed on you by Section 23 of the 1999 Constitution as a good citizen. And you will be better off by voting, because you have your mind that yes, you voted right. I'm Wale Ogunade, constitutional lawyer, human rights activist, and President Voters Awareness Initiative. Thank you. my people.
Thank you so very much for being back. And just before we went for that short break, we were talking on matters of the South region on our news papers analysis segment, and with Barrister Fred Mzeakor, who is my guest for today. Thank you so very much, Barrister, for being back.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, so you were speaking to the issue of the dunghills of abandoned projects in the South region just before we had that little break.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And the reasons are not far-fetched because if you look at the NDDC, for example, NDDC has left a lot of projects abandoned and uncompleted. Sometimes the people who are supposed to be beneficiaries of these projects will complain of undue influence from Abuja. And even though it is called the Niger Delta Development Commission, but the commission is largely directed from outside the Niger Delta. But if you now keep that aside, today we now have a Ministry of Niger Delta, which eventually everything has now snowballed back to regional development agencies. So there has been continuously changes in operational dynamics of Niger Delta development authorities and the commissions that are in charge, starting from the era of UNPADEC down to the era of NDDC, Ministry of Niger Delta, and the rest of them. Today we are talking about regional development agencies. But what is critical and most important is that the funds given to Niger Delta development agencies are not adequately utilized. So also the funds given to the governors under the 13% derivative provision of our law are not adequately utilized. Otherwise, if the governors would learn to avoid white elephant projects and embark on projects that they have the finances to complete, and projects that will really touch the life and welfare of the people, then we will have a limited number of abandoned projects in the Niger Delta area. So the South generally, the 6 states of the South, Edo Delta, Rivers, Bayelsa, Akwa Ibom, Cross River, should ensure that they make adequate use of the 13% derivation that they receive. Because each time there is sharing of money from the federation account, the states of the South have received the largest. But at the end of the day, you begin to ask, where are all these monies deployed? Because you hardly will see the effect on ground. There is too much politicking in the South region. And that is why even if anybody wants to run for presidential election, a lot of the chunk of the war chest, financial war chest utilized, come from the South, the oil-bearing states. And there's something that came to some minds of the analysts, that even though the South region is the oil-bearing region of Nigeria, yet the management of the oil sector hardly will be in the hands of the people from that region. Today, the two major refineries, private refineries in Nigeria, are owned by people from the north. Dangote and Alhaji Rabiu, the Boa Group and the Dangote Group. The Ministry of Mineral Resources, Petroleum Ministry, usually manned by people from outside the region. The NNPC and its agencies that are in charge of Nigerian oil assets are usually manned by people outside the region. So some people say that it is an act of political balancing, but the people of that region are saying it is an act of deprivation and marginalization. Because when they are not in charge of the exploitation of their region, they are not also in charge in the management of what has been exploited. They are not in charge in final full control of the funds set out for the development of that region, but they are in charge of the 30% derivation. Yeah. So even if they cannot control what goes on in the ministry or in NNPC or in the refineries or in NDDC and all those other agencies, They are in charge of the 13% that has come to them. And that is why when politicians want to talk, they say, go and ask your governors what they are doing with the 13% derivation. But in summary, I can tell you without fear of equivocation that the people of Niger Delta are not receiving what is due to them as a people. They may be shortchanged by the governments at the state and the local levels. They are also shortchanged by the government at the federal level.
Very, very true, because this is very so evident. Let's take Delta, for example. You know, there is a clarion call for the Delta state government to ensure that dividends of democracy gets to the people, especially for the Ndukwa people. There's this campaign, Light Up Ndukwa, for decades now. Some parts of that state had been deprived of electricity, even whilst the same electricity is produced, you know, at their backyard. And this, you know, speaks to what you talked about. They might not be in control at the center, but the 13% they've been given to, the big question is, what are they able to do with that? And Barrister, this takes us to another story very connected, and this is Nigeria will be better off without politics of pre-vandalism. And that's coming from Iwa. And I had the opportunity of taking a look at that particular word, which was coined by Richard Joseph, a professor of international history and politics from Northwestern University. Barrister, this is very synonymous to what you've been talking about, where politicians use the money meant for their constituencies to themselves. Speak to me, please.
Yes, it is one of the major challenges of our current democratic experience. Because if you look at the developments in Nigeria in the early 60s, after independence, juxtaposed that with development in Nigeria when we came to the Second Republic of 1979, that was terminated in 1983, then fast forward to development in Nigeria from 1999 to date, it goes without argument that Nigeria continues to slide downwards. And then the degradation in policy, in programs, in achievements have become very geometrical in nature, to the extent that politicians no longer care. They no longer give a hoot about the feelings of the people, the complaints of the people, and the need for them to serve the people and deliver the dividends of democracy, which we very simply say that the dividends of democracy is good governance. And good governance comes with it many positives that will lift the lives of the people in terms of employment, healthcare, education, ease of doing business, enjoyment of life, life expectancy itself, and then the reduction of stress in the daily living of Nigerian people. The life expectancy of Nigerians keep going down. Sometime in the 60s, it was 65 years. In the 70s, it came down to 2 years, and in the 80s. Hey, the life expectancy of Nigeria is between 45 and 48 years. So what does that tell you? It tells you that the incidences of longevity is not only, Nigerians are not intentional about it, because you cannot be talking about increased life expectancy in an environment where the healthcare facilities are not available. 3-4 days ago, a doctor was reported to have slumped and died working 72 hours on a shift in a hospital. There's a young resident doctor. And what he tells you is that, and they just talked about it as if it is a normal happenstance. It is not normal. The doctor should, and let me use this opportunity to say this, that young doctor should be treated as a hero who has laid down his life for the life of his fellow countrymen and women. He should be given national honors, and the family should be compensated. Compensation is not enough for his life, but at least if the family receives some compensation, those who are his beneficiaries, who are looking up to him, his dependents, those who are his dependents, those other ones who are hoping that his continuous progress in the medical profession will be trained, educated, and then made life better for them, are now be left in the cold. And that is the whole essence of not allowing his life to go in vain. Just like we celebrated Stella Ameyo Adedepo, this young doctor must and should be celebrated. And it will not only end there. It will be a turning point in our medical medical and healthcare provision for the people of Nigeria. What it simply tells you is that the country is not doing well in every aspect of our socio-economic life. Even in our political life as a nation, we are not doing well. And how can we do well? We need to sit down and readdress all these issues and come back to a reality of what we should do as a nation.
Very well said, Barrister. From one issue to another, my last question, and this is still from the Guardian newspaper for today. Tinubu should overhaul NTA as a voice of Africa. Barrister, for some of us that had live, you know, from the 70s and the 80s, we grew up watching the NTA. Very fantastic station, you will agree with me. Great programs that it had, you know, nurturing program for young people, lads coming up at that time. Today, NTA is a shadow of itself, and a major reason is because of the bureaucratic tendency that we've seen within the NTA and the lopsided not getting the right people to do the right job. What's your take really on the NTA? Are you disappointed with what you see today? NTA should be competing with the BBC and Al Jazeera, but of course it is not. It is playing below par. Local league, some people would say. That is what NTA is playing right about now. What's your take, please?
NTA is a huge disappointment, a huge one, because one, it is not competing with any organization. It is supposed to be competing with other international organizations around the world in terms of content, in terms of programs, and in terms of delivery of adequate information to the Nigerian people. But you now look at the establishment of NTA and the reason behind such organization. The NTA has been cornered as a medium of communication of the federal government. So, in a bid to sing the songs of the federal government down to the beating and the rhythm played by the Ministry of Information representing the federal government, NTA now became almost a very big disappointment for people who are expecting that NTA should lead the way. Yes, it is supposed to broadcast programs and policies of government, but it is also supposed to be a gatekeeper for our national development, especially on the side of morals, morality, justice, equity, and fairness. Because NTA should not be allowed, or should not allow itself to be a tool of political propaganda in the hands of the federal government. Because if it does so, what has happened to Nigerian Airways? What has happened to Nigerian Shipping Line? What has happened to some other national agencies will say happened to NTA? That NTA is still alive is because it is receiving direct sponsorship from federal government and receiving advertisement from federal government agencies. Otherwise, NTA would have long died. If you expose NTA to compete with other private media stations in the country, NTA will not be able to pay its staff. But the staff of NTA are paid from IPPIS platform, from federal government. So whether their content is rich or not, whether they perform or they don't perform, they don't care. And that is why they are not interested in competing with other international media organizations around the world. The organizations that should even be afraid of NTA, because Nigeria has a large population of over 220 million people. And what it means is that as a single unit organization in charge of federal government information and the rest of them, NTA has branches in the 36 states of the country and the FCT. So if they leverage on their tentacles and their capacity, they should be able to be doing very well. But again, the filthy, lucrative hands of the government have not allowed NTA to breathe. They need to struggle to maintain their sanity, and they need to ensure that they deliver what is best for Nigeria. Even if they don't compete with other local stations, let them have unique, because they have a unique position. Yeah. Let them have unique stations that will work on the morality of the country and ensure that we build a better society. We need to have a news line that will go to every nook and cranny of the country and bring out things that were wrongly done, so that the society will begin to shape up. But the news line of today has become like an average musician that will continue to sing the song of Ismail Masters like a puppet. That is what has cost NTA the honor and integrity and the confidence of the people that it once enjoyed in the past.
Very true, Barrister. We all remember Frank Olize. We all remember Cyril Stober. We all remember Abike Dabri, you know, a wonderful journalist, but of course she is no longer what it appears to be now. Now, these are reputable people that have, you know, given NTA the face that it has. Unfortunately, that is not what we see today. Leadership tussle here and there. President Bola Tinubu allowed in for a new Director General, Femi Pedro, and we just learned that he has been removed again, and the former DG has resumed the seat. That is Stalihu Debos. And that is some of the things that we see. You know, having the wrong people, you know, doing the right job will never get us to the position that we hope to be. And just to let you know, folks, that Barrister will still be here to take us on our main conversation in a bit, and that is when we return. Battle to unseat Tinubu, a national consensus, not a northern conspiracy. That's coming from Tambuwal. That in a bit is still Enterprise Weekend. Please don't go anywhere, because we'll be right back. All right, can we run?